Hello Greytonians, and thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. As an estate agent, whenever I speak to people in Greyton on my walks through the village, the conversation invariably always goes to one thing, and that's people asking me what the current market is like. And especially now, people are all under the impression that the market is really going, and it's really good, and it's a good time to sell your house if you wanted to sell. So what's been happening, and I'm going to show you a little graph now of what the market has been doing in the past few years. The first graph shows you the sales as they were from about 2017 to about 2020, where you'll notice that there was a gradual decline in the number of sales from 52 sales in 2017, that's basically sales of houses, 52 in 2017 to about 26 in 2020. So there's been a gradual decline, with 2020 being the worst market that Greyton had seen in a long time. That was, of course, largely due to the lockdown, which had a severe effect in Greyton on the sale of properties. Then we see after lockdown in 2021, and now we've suddenly seen that there was a huge leap in the number of transactions from 26 to 92, and I believe the actual figure for that was a little bit over 100 for 2021. So what basically happened, or the reason for this jump in the number of sales, was largely during lockdown. People discovered that many people discovered that they can actually work from home, and a lot of people also wanted to move away from the big city because of that, and moving out in the country was a good option. And of course, Greyton in that particular scenario was an excellent option. So many people decided to move to Greyton, and we found that almost every house that was listed and that was correctly priced sold. That continued in 2022, where we see the number of sales on 79. So there was a slight decline, and the decline at that stage was largely because there was almost no stock. All the houses that were sellable were sold. Then when we look further at the graph, we look at 2023, and that's very, very worrying, because what we noticed there is that in the previous 2 years, the average number of sales per month was usually about 9 to 10 houses per month. For the last 4 months in 2020, the last bit of 2023, and in fact the last 4 months, the sales have been one house per month, which means that there's been a huge shift. And this shift has basically been where we previously had a seller's market, or in the last year or two we had a seller's market where the sellers could dictate, that suddenly swung around to a buyer's market. The pool of buyers has now largely dried up. There's very, very, very few buyers around. So what is the meaning of this? Where do we stand with this? What are we going to do about this? Well, first of all, it means that it's now very difficult to sell a house. And the high prices that people were possible to get during the boom have now also vanished. People still demand high prices for their houses. If you look on Property 24, you'll see that houses are still priced very high. You know, we're talking about over 4 million rand for a house that 2 years ago would have sold for under 3 million. So the prices are still very, very high, but those prices are not achieved. So seeing the few sales that we had, the 3 or 4, the sale per month that we had, were almost all sold for substantially below the asking price, except the one that I sold, which was sold for the full asking price. So what are you to do if you have to sell during this particular stage? If you don't have to sell now, I would advise you not to sell. I would advise you to hold on to see which way the market's going to go and then take it from there. But if you have to sell, and people do have to sell for a variety of reasons, then your most important thing at this particular point in time is to make absolutely sure you select a very good estate agent. In the past 2 years, many houses just sold themselves, and even if you marketed the house yourself, took a few pictures and put them up on Property 24, it may have sold itself. But the way the market is now, you need a very, very good agent to ensure that your house gets sold. And the reason for this is, first of all, the price has to be correct now. So you need an agent who knows the area very well, and an agent who is honest enough to guide you sincerely into establishing the correct market value of your house before you start. Especially now, if a house is overpriced, it will not sell, believe me. So then the first thing is ensure that your house is correctly priced. Secondly, ensure that your house is being correctly marketed. Now, taking a few cell phone pics and then putting that up on Property 24 and waiting for the phone to ring is not marketing. Marketing means having proper photography done by a professional photographer, and then people who know what they're doing, who can correctly compile your advertisement and then correctly put all of that onto all the possible property portals in order that your property reaches the widest possible audience out there. It must be seen by as many potential buyers as possible. And then lastly, you need an agent who works for you, not for the buyer, like many agents do. They have to work for you and to ensure that you get the best possible price. To be able to do that, you need a strong agent who is able to correctly negotiate sales of this particular caliber, i.e. high value sales of a few million rand. These things need people with experience at doing negotiations at this particular level. So that's the third important point. Let's just go through them again quickly. Firstly, being able to correctly establish the market value of the house. Secondly, to correctly photograph, i.e. professional photography, and not just photos alone, but also a good video and a 3D walkthrough. These things definitely result, it's been proven in statistics, of your house being seen and looked at by up to 400% more buyers. That's a high figure, something to bear in mind. And then thirdly, and probably most importantly, an agent who is strong enough and experienced enough in high level negotiations, high value negotiations, and who works for you in order to achieve the best possible price for you. I believe I'm that agent, and I'd like to talk to you about that if you want to sell your house, and explain to you why I believe I am the best agent for you at this particular point in the market. Thank you very much.